So this is my friend Corey Rofi.
Hello.
Today we're here at Christ the King School. This school just literally opened 2 months ago?
2 months ago,
Wow.
beginning in September.
Look at this pretty filled. I'm kind of impressed. So
Filling up.
So we're in a makerspace, which basically, to me, makerspace is this people make stuff.
Yeah, we make stuff. So the Makerspace is a place where kids can come and they can show their understanding, they can solve problems, and they can basically learn through building and creating and inventing and solving problems. So we just have a ton of materials. Kids come in, they get a challenge, they maybe have a problem, they maybe learn something in class, and they just start building and creating.
Wow, that sounds pretty cool. So we're going to go for a quick tour of the classroom and see what does it look like. This will be a nice, easygoing video of what the classroom is set up. But before we start, I have a cool little gadget, quick unboxing. So this is an Insta-mic. Basically, it's a little microphone with a built-in recorder and battery. And we're going to clip it on Corey so that hopefully you can hear him a little bit better. So get you to hold that for a second.
Look at this.
And I
We love
literally
new tech in the Makerspace.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
good.
I literally just got this yesterday, so hopefully it'll work well. The idea is that hopefully you can hear Corey better when instead of using the on microphone on the camera, we can have an actual microphone on him, and then we'll take it into the editing suite, sync it up, and hopefully his voice will come up a lot clearer. And has little clips for him as well, so we'll get that going. Hopefully that'll work out well, and then we'll take a look at the classroom.
Sounds great.
Great. So here we go. So I have to ask, what is going on here?
So this is sort of like cardboard corner.
Okay.
Cardboard is fantastic material in the makerspace. It's basically one of those universal materials that all kids can build and create with. It's really easy to manipulate. Kids can cut it, they can tape it, they can glue it. Tons and tons of things can happen with it. It comes in all different shapes and sizes and thickness. So it is a phenomenal material to make and build with.
I thought it was this for recycling.
No, and I had to tell the custodian when we first opened the school, I'm like, this is not garbage. So I literally had to label the garbage can and the recycle over there so that none of our makerspace materials get thrown out. So I told the custodians, I'm like, not garbage, building materials. And basically what we have is we have big pieces of cardboard and boxes back here. We actually had to get inventive and build a little cardboard holder because we ended up with like a cardboard avalanche after a while because it just sort of keeps piling up and building up and collecting. The great thing about opening a new school is lots of things come in boxes, so we were stocked with cardboard from now till the end of time. And
cool.
so
Once you think about it, like kids and boxes, cardboard boxes, it's like gold, like to them, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like this.
Yeah, I mean, imagine when you were a kid, like your mom got a new fridge. The fridge box was like, you played like for a month with the fridge box, right? So it was great. Okay, so these are some of the things that kids built with the cardboard. So this is, we have a course in our CTF programming called Entrepreneurial Leadership, and the kids have to design a business. And so we have some kids that are designing a carnival right now. So they're creating different carnival games, and so they use tape, they use cardboard, and they're building their business. So this is one of their games they created their ring toss game for their carnival, and then they're deciding right now kind of the marketing behind it. How are they gonna promote their carnival? What are they gonna charge for admission? And the whole course is based around creating and running a business. And so they come into the makerspace to build the things they need and prototype and plan for their business.
So that sounds like it covers multiple things like math, a little bit of science, probably a little bit of language arts there too. If you have to figure out, if you're selling, you have to talk and write up probably, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the great thing about the work in this space is it's cross-curricular. Teachers can make curricular connections in thousands of different ways depending on what they want to focus and emphasize in the curriculum. And the CTF curriculum is really designed to do that. Our robots are saying hi. So it really is designed to be integrated. I mean, it is its own course and curriculum, but the CTF programming is also designed to be integrated into other subject areas too, and you can see that in projects like this. So
cool.
Yeah. So over here we have more cardboard creation. These are another tool that we have in the makerspace. These are called MakeDo Screws. And when the kids go to build with cardboard, tape is one thing they can do. The other thing they can do is they can fasten cardboard together. And so They're basically plastic screws.
Oh.
There's a screwdriver. There's a little tool to punch holes in things. So the kids, if they want to come over to the cardboard bin.
Mr. Rofi, can you call the office, please? Important question regarding the compressor. Mr. Rofi, call the office.
He's student Page. We're still in the school.
I'm Mr. Rofi. Okay, I think I better take care of that important question.
Okay, we'll be right back.
So MakeDo, if the kids go over to our fantastic cardboard corner, then what they can do is they can take a piece of cardboard, punch a hole, take their screwdriver and their MakeDo screw, and start twisting it in. And
What?
now,
Is that simple?
it's that simple. And you now have fastened cardboard.
Cool.
If the kids want to resize the cardboard, they can take the cardboard saw and they can cut through the cardboard and shape it in whatever size they want. The great thing is, it cuts cardboard, it doesn't cut skin.
Oh.
Fantastic for our early learners, kindergartens, 100 Voices, grade 1 kids come in. We can give these to them, they can start cutting things up and fastening things together, and they can do it safely and without
And a student made
any
this?
problem.
Like,
Yeah, so
they
this
made
was
a door even?
a student
That is
project.
cool.
These were some hinges that we made on our 3D printer, and so then we were able to hinge our door on our house, and yeah.
That is cool.
So I will take the,
Oh, it's that easy to take off?
and
too?
it's that easy to take off. So
Wow.
that easy, simple way to build and create with cardboard. Just give students another option. They can make it with tape, they can make it with cardboard screws, they can make it with a combination. So yeah, it's fun. One of my favorite. This is a favorite tool in the Makerspace because it's great for all ages. I've seen junior high kids build elaborate things with this. I've seen 4-year-olds build with this too. So it's definitely one of those universal all ages things.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, what's in the closet there? It looks like you have quite a bit of stuff there.
Yeah, so this is sort of our storage equipment, where we store all of our equipment and supplies. We're fortunate we have lots and lots of storage space in our Makerspace. It's kind of the key to the
Is that
Makerspace.
robot like kind of following us around?
Yeah. Dash is a little creepy. He kind of likes to stalk you until you play with him or teach him something.
Okay,
So
we have to go back to that.
we'll
in
come
a
back.
bit.
We'll come back to you,
I
Dash.
was it just caught me off guard. I was just moving around. It was just following me.
Yeah, he's a little creepy. He's the creepiest of the robots that we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways,
So
back to this.
so storage. We're lucky. Hands down, you need lots and lots of storage in a makerspace, and so we're lucky we have that here. This is where we store all of the equipment, the robotics equipment, special building materials, tools, things like that. Things that students don't necessarily access on their own, but things that teachers can put out for students. So we keep our MakeDo in here. We keep our Raspberry Pi computers in here. We keep glue guns in here. Those kinds of things that teachers might want to use for a special project and then get out and give to students. So
That's cool.
yeah, so we keep the rules to our makerspace pretty simple. Basically, the students know that
You got tons of make.
tons of MakeDo. The kids know that anything behind a door they have to ask to use, and then anything that's not behind a door is fair game. They can just take it and use it and build with it. So
Okay.
I'm just gonna turn this off. I'm just gonna close that app there. So yeah, they can take and use anything that is open, and then the things behind the glass doors is what teachers can use. So this is basically our Raspberry Pi breadboarding, physical computing, wiring section over here. We keep our MakeDos, our Makeys, kind of our hands-on microcontrollers on these shelves here. We keep our robotics stuff here, and then a couple of other building materials.
I have to ask, why is there marshmallows there?
Marshmallows, I think one of the classes was building with spaghetti and marshmallows. I want to say they were exploring shapes, three-dimensional shapes.
Oh, right.
And so they were using the spaghetti for the sides and then the marshmallows for the corners as the kids built shapes, I think. I don't know. Weird things happen in the makerspace. Sometimes you never know. I still have no idea why we have rice here. I came in one day and there was a thing of rice sitting next to the cupboard or next to the sink on the cupboard, and so I don't know. I just put it in the cupboard. I'm
You'll
sure.
have to get back to me. Why is the rice there?
Why is there rice? It's the great thing about makerspace. You know, you sort of fill it with all kinds of crazy things, and then the kids decide what to make and build and create with it. So
Cool.
I don't know why we have rice. Yeah. So that's some of the things we have. We have Play-Doh. We have Lego. You know, the original building material, Lego. This is sort of like the classic maker tool is Lego. Play-Doh is also another one. I always say Play-Doh's the original 3D printer because we used to, when we were kids, take the Play-Doh and mash it in the mold and then make a little figurine.
Right.
And it was sort of the, I feel that was the origins of 3D design and printing. So we have Play-Doh. A great mix of high-tech and low-tech. That's the key. Like in a makerspace, it's important to have some high-tech and low-tech stuff. So, so the kids have lots of options to build and to make with.
Great.
Maybe we'll talk about the robotics a bit.
Yeah, but since it's
Yeah.
buzzing at us.
These are some of the robotics equipment that we have. In our makerspace, we have high tech, we have low tech. This is some of the more high tech stuff. This is dash&dot. They are a robot pair that interact and they think and they move together. You can code them, you can program them. They work on an iPad app. They also work on any phone app as well, which we make use of sometimes because a lot of the older kids now, they have devices, they have phones in schools. It's a big issue sometimes, you know, should kids have phones in schools? And a lot of times we say, yeah, but let's put them to good use. You know, they're here, the kids have them. And so what I'm going to do is I'll show you how the kids would connect, and I'll do it on a phone just to show that they can.
So to me,
can
like
do
all
that.
these robots kind of looks like toys to me.
Mm-hmm.
But you were saying that you can program them. So like,
Yeah.
is it just junior high kids that's just programming them?
No, these work all the way from 100 voices all the way up to grade 9.
Well, so you're saying like early education, like pre-kindergarten kids can actually use this?
Pre-kindergarten kids can actually use this because if we take a look at this one, and these guys work similar.
Okay.
This one is called Sphero. So it runs off of an app, a series of apps.
Yeah.
But if we open up the app, it will connect through Bluetooth. So it'll look for a Sphero.
Connection.
So we know that it's online, it's connecting. And at a very simple level, what students can do is click the button, and it works simply by controlling it. And so what they're doing is they're coding it, but they're coding it with their finger. They're coding it by touch.
Okay.
So I'm going to put it on the floor because we don't want to drive it off the table. So the rule is robots always on the floor, never on the table.
Good idea.
And then what we can do is the students can simply put their finger on the trackpad and they can code the robot. Or for even young students to use. And then what teachers can do is they can look at how do we explore measurement. They can lay out some measurement tape.
That's
And they can talk about what does it look like when your robot goes 10 centimeters. You know, what does it look like when your robot goes the length of 3 pencils? How do we create a maze and explore angles and talk about, you know, your maze have to have some right angles and some wide angles and some acute angles and some obtuse angles. And then you have to get your robot to go through the maze. So we sort of take the tool and then look at what curricular connections can we explore and touch upon as we use the tool. So, and like I said, as simple as just coding and controlling it with your finger. Another way that you can code and control these robots is, and I'll show with the dash and the dot, is you can write lines of code and this one I'll leave on the table because I know exactly where he's going to go. I've wrote a couple lines of code. When I hit the start button, he just goes forward 50, which means 50 centimeters at a normal speed. So when I hit play, oh, he lost his connection. So what, again, connects through Bluetooth. So we just hold the button. He's happy because he's connected. Now I can press play, and he'll come forward 50 centimeters.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and then I can just keep running the same code over and over again. You can record your voice into the robots. So if you want to do storytelling and language arts, you want to have the robots talk and interact with one another. They could tell a joke to each other. You could do some creative writing. Again, exploring measurements, an easy one. We can talk about what does it mean, 50 centimeters. I can change the distance that he goes. So now it's 90 centimeters, 80 centimeters, 100 centimeters. Great for kids that are exploring units of measure. I can change the angle, or I can change the speed that he goes at. I can change the angle that he turns his head. So again, teachers...
So that's pretty cool, like you actually show measurement in practical sense versus like, oh, here's 10 centimeters type of thing. Like you actually physically can show it with the dot and dashes.
Yeah, and it's a great connection because kids can see it on the screen, 10 centimeters, and then they can physically see something move 10 centimeters and build that really solid understanding of what that distance is. So that's a really simple way. But again, we can have them talk. We can do storytelling with them. We can do creative writing, and they could write a script of how the robots talk and interact. We can turn them into something else. The great thing about Dash is they comes with brick builders. So it comes with these Lego connectors that snap on the side, and then they serve as a base for Lego, and students can turn the robot into anything they want it to be. So we can do some physical, tangible, low-tech building, and then we can do some high-tech coding and getting the robot to move and create, covering a lot of different outcomes.
These shells here.
So these shelves this is building materials. These are things that students have open access to when they want to create something, they have a problem to solve, their teacher has given them a task. They can come and use any of these materials that they want. So it's basically just bins filled with things that we found, that people have donated, things that we've collected, and students can use them as needed to create what they need to create to complete assignments or to solve problems and meet challenges. So it's just popsicle sticks, it's the classic toilet paper tubes, it is egg cartons, and whatever else we can collect, find, and gather.
Cool.
Yeah.
So what's next?
Okay, so what's next? So over here, let's go over here. So this is another tool that we have in the Makerspace. It's called a Makey. Lots of these things have the name Make in them. So we have a MakeDo, we have Makey, we have a Makerspace. We have all these great things. And how the Makey works is if we plug it into any computer, so it just works on the USB port. So it's a nice, simple tool to use. Literally, there are two connections. So there is one connection to the board, and then one connection to the computer on the USB port. And essentially what it does, I'm just going to log in so I can have access. It takes over your computer screen and your keyboard. So I can now control my screen, not with my keyboard, but with something tangible. So on the board, it has things like click, space, arrow, arrow, arrow. If I connect a clip to one of the arrows, and then I clip it to something else and build a complete circuit, I can now control that arrow with whatever I've built. So I'm going to bring up just a simple little bongo drum. So we'll bring a simple little bongo drum up here. All right. So now.
And this goes through the browser?
How this? Yeah. So this is just an app in a browser. So the Makey, the designers of this created a couple apps so that you could just experiment and play with it. So somebody wrote code for this, and they developed a program where if you hit the arrow, it plays one sound. If you hit the space bar, it plays another sound. So I can play on my keyboard.
Which is cool.
Which is cool. But with the Makey, it takes over my keyboard.
What?
And so now I can build something that I can play, and it takes over my keyboard. So
cool.
I've used conductive tape that looks like this. So this is just copper tape that's conductive. It comes in a roll like this.
Cool, and it says wired to the Makey.
It's wired to the Makey.
Okay.
So I'll take this one out of the equation for a minute. So what I have here is I have a ground wire running to this one, and I have the arrow key running to this one, and when these two touch and make a circuit, the bongo will play.
That is cool.
So now instead of this, now if I go between the two of them, it sounds like this. And
That
so
itself like teaches a lot of things. Like
right.
covers tons of science already.
Tons of science.
Yeah.
Grade 5s talk about electricity and electrical circuits in science class in grade 5, and this is hands down an amazing way for them to explore how a circuit works, because I have no circuit, right? Closed circuit, closed, open, closed, open, closed, open. They can build switches. They can do all kinds of things with it, and it's simple and easy to use. We can even take it one step further. This is a game that's been coded and created by Makey, so they've developed and created that. If you come over here, we use a program called Scratch in the Makerspace, and it's a program where kids can create digitally. And so what they're able to do is, this is the 4-year-old version, so there's one called Scratch Junior, and it looks like this. It's for very young students, so we use this with kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2, and the idea of this is that they make the cat move. So we say we can make the cat, if we pull this block in, it makes the cat move. If we pull this block in, when I push the green flag, the cat will move forward 1 step. So I push the flag and the cat moves.
So this is very basic.
And the cat moves.
Programming.
Very basic.
Subroutine too. Like it's programming for kids.
It is.
Essentially.
It's programming for kids. I can change this so that instead of when I click the flag, I can pick a different one, and I can say, when I touch the character, he moves. So now when I touch the character moves. So what I'm doing is I'm clicking the mouse. So imagine I plug my Makey in, I wire the mouse click, and when I touch my 2 tubes together, the cat moves forward.
Oh,
so I
cool.
can now control this program with something tangible that I've made and created. We have a bigger version that we use called Scratch. And so this is the older student version where the kids can build and create different kinds of things. And I can show you a project that the kids have done. It is, let's go back one. So if we go into here, and I'll look at my stuff. This is a project that the students were working on where they code a calculator. So if we look inside this project, they have to code the start button, they code the plus button, and then they write lines of code to say what will happen when you click start. So when you click start, it sets the answer to 0, the first number to 0, it resets it, it asks a question. So now when I click start, it says what's the first number you want to put in. Students wrote this code. So they can now, like you saw with the bongo drum, they can write programs and codes like that, plug in the Makey, wire them up, and basically make a whole system of game controller all in one in the Makerspace.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, it's pretty cool. And it's good. It's good to have a good mix of making digitally and making physically and tangibly at all ages. That was sort of the goal of what we were going for when we were putting materials and equipment into this space.
So not necessarily have to be locked down to a computer, sit down and code per se. They can actually do other cool stuff that's related to it as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Because it's, sitting in front of a computer and writing lines of code is not for every kid. Some kids really enjoy it. It really appeals to them. It's a great way for them to learn and express their learning. Some kids love the physical, hands-on, tangible building. So giving multiple options for how they can show their learning or create a project, they could build something, they could write some code for something. It's all about giving kids options and choices and how they want to create. So, yeah.
Cool.
All right. Other things we have. This is something. This is a tool that's for older students a little bit. So a lot of the things we try and do are multi-age. This is called a Raspberry Pi. It's fairly multi-age. We've used it with kids as young as grade 3, and then all the way up to grade 9. And this is a computer. And so it's a small little computer. It does most things that any other computer, a laptop, a desktop computer can do. And it allows the students to be able to access the internet, write code, control and program and wire things. And so in this project, what students are doing is they had an assignment or a challenge to make a bulb light up and write some code that will allow the bulb to light up. So what the students did was they used a program called Python, and in Python, they wrote a code that looks like this, some simple lines of code.
Looks complicated to me. But
it looks complicated. It looks complicated, but
if the kids can figure it out.
The kids can figure it out, and so it's not extremely complicated. It's a simpler sequence of code.
Yeah.
And so they wrote the lines of code. They saved it, and then when they run the code, so if they open up a terminal window, and they tell the computer to go look for, so they're telling the Raspberry Pi to go look for the file, and then they can run it. And when we run this code, because the name of the code is LED blink, oops, let's spell that correctly. Got to spell everything correctly when you're writing code. When they run the code, the light will come on. And there it is. So, simple project, students physically, tangibly building something, creating some code on the Raspberry Pi. And what it's teaching students, we use this in our CTF class, in our physical computing class. It's the first project we do to show them that you can control your world. You can build something out of bulbs and wires and write code from nothing to make things happen and to control anything you want around you.
Yeah, and this is quite practical you think about, especially in our province, Alberta, we have tons of oil and gas. So when they do like chemical plants, they have to do valve control.
Right.
This is kind of like it. So you have to figure out how sensors work, how to control this and that, using a computer, using wiring, electronics, switches, and lights. It's kind of cool. Like, it's very practical.
Yeah.
It's simple. Like, and they're learning it. And this is elementary, junior high school. This is not high school. This is not NATE or anything like that. It's just
junior high.
Just learning, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've done this project with kids as young as grade 5. We've done this project, and they've got the light to light up and to blink. So, yeah, it's a great tool. You can do almost anything you can imagine with the Raspberry Pi, because you can program and run programs right on it, but it also has these general input-output pins that allow you to plug things into it and then write code and control the things around you. So this is sort of a huge component of our computing science classes that we teach in our CTF programming here in the Makerspace.
What's with the wire here?
Yes, these are...
And also there's a construction lab there, and also a foods lab here. So what's with the whole makerspace in this school? Like, it's probably a new thing. I never heard of a makerspace dedicated for a school before.
Yeah, so when the school was built, we had our construction lab on one side, our foods lab on the other side, and a room in the middle. And, you know, there was lots of options. It could have become a computer lab, it could have become a design studio, it could have become a lot of things. But the basis of the CTF programming for kids in grades 5 to 9 is all about solving problems, looking at challenges, and figuring out basically how to make something, create something, invent something. And the courses are all about these challenges and problems that are really passions of the kids. And so when we were looking at that, we thought Makerspace is a great environment for that programming to happen. It's a great place for any kid to learn and explore their understanding, but it's really, really great for CTF programming because the curriculum is all about solving problems. And so we decided, since this room is here between two other CTF spaces that are maybe a little bit more traditional, let's have something that's non-traditional so we can offer classes like entrepreneurial leadership, like photo and video creation, and basically anything else the kids are passionate and interested in. And so this space is a huge support for our CTF programming, in addition to our other classes coming in. So cool. Yeah, so that's why it sort of sits between these other two spaces.
Great.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to take a sip of water. I'm sorry. I'm like coughing. It'll probably take me a few weeks to get better. So if I don't do any videos, it'll be a few weeks. So take a quick sip of water and
that fall cold.
All right. So obviously this is power cord.
Yeah, so power cord, this is probably the thing I love the most about this space is we have power right in the ceiling, so we can pull it down and the kids can plug things in. We can literally set a computer lab up in 5 minutes like you see here. We can have multiple computers on each table. The students set them up, plug them in, get them running. At the end of the block, they unplug them. The cord, they pull the cord. The cord goes back up to the ceiling, and then it's put away, and then the space is ready for some more non-traditional, not non-traditional, some more low-tech building. And so then we can get the cardboard out, we can put the technology away, we can get rid of the power, we can get the cardboard out, and we can start building that way.
Good because there's no tripping hazard from running cords everywhere.
Yeah,
it's always going to happen, no matter what. If you put cords everywhere, it's going to be tripped, even though it's right there, right? But
yeah,
it's cool that they do that, and I like the table too. Like it's really designed for stuff you make. You don't have to worry about being nicked or get paint on it or glue on it and stuff like that. So
yeah, I mean, we went with these tables because it is simply an unfinished plywood top. It's 3/4 inch unfinished plywood. When teachers started using this space, they were covering the tables because as teachers we're in the habit of covering tables before we use them. But I told the teachers, don't cover the tables. I mean, things like this are okay in a makerspace. Paint spills, glue stuck to it. It's an unfinished top, so we can just scrape it down when we need to get all the clumps of whatever happens to be on it, glue, paint, anything like that. And then, I mean, the fantastic thing is we have a whole bunch of sanders, belt sanders, palm sanders. The kids who are taking building construction come over here, they run the sanders across the tabletop, and we're back to good again. And once they start getting a little thin, because we sanded them all the way down, we pop it out, we put new ones in, simply by just cutting up some plywood. So,
great.
All right, we lost light because in our fancy new school, we have sensor lights. So after 20 minutes, if you're not moving around enough, the lights turn off. So if we walk back over here,
fancy,
and we get in front of the sensor, the lights come back on. So
it's probably good in a way, but it's probably also a little bit
Well, it's great.
annoying, per se.
It's great for the environment. It's not great if you're sitting at your computer because you have to get up every 20 minutes and walk to turn the lights on.
Well, again, a little bit of exercise.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Nobody here in this building sits at their computer for more than 20 minutes because you have to get up and trigger the lights and then come back. So, which is nice. It's good exercise. So, yeah. So that's the tables. That's the lights.
I can hear something buzzing throughout the whole video.
Yes. So this is our 3D printer. So this was donated to us, and it's basically a tool where the kids can design and create and then physically print out a 3D image of what they created. Right.
So yours.
Yes. So this is right now, this is what we're printing. So we're making brackets for the MakeDo Screws that you saw earlier. So this is so that the kids can fasten cardboard together and they put the screw through here. So we're just getting a few of them made for a project that students are going to be doing with cardboard. A lot of times, though, what the 3D printer is for is students will design, they'll design something to meet a challenge, to solve a problem, to complete an assignment that a teacher gave them, and then we'll print it out. So right now our grade 9s are working on designing a puzzle that has to have a surface area of 100 centimeters. And so they're working in a program called Tinkercad. They're moving blocks around, manipulating shapes, cutting things into pieces digitally on a work plane. And then when they get their puzzle built and it all fits together and it equals 100 centimeters, they export the file, we put it in the 3D printer, and then it will make a plastic version of their puzzle. They'll snap it all apart, and then they'll have a puzzle that they can make. But the learning behind that is they're learning about surface area. So their brains have been on fire lately trying to figure out how do they calculate the surface area so that it's exactly 100 centimeters. And then what will happen is when they print it out, their teacher will take it, check it, and see do they have an understanding of how to calculate surface area, and she'll know that because if their puzzle is the correct dimensions that it's supposed to be.
Right, so it looks really complicated to me. Like, just look at the machine and look at the control panel. Like, are you saying that kids can actually use this thing? Like,
so what the kids do is they create their file on the computer. So they'll work in their Chromebook on an online program called Tinkercad. And then what they do is they put the file onto an SD card, and then we put the SD card into the side of the printer, and then we tell the printer, well, there's a print button.
Oh.
So if I can pause this print right now, and it'll just stop for a minute. And if I click the back button, what I can do is on my SD card lists all the files that are available to print. And so I can check which file I want to print. I hit print, and then the printer will start up and it will start going.
Oh, that's a lot easier than I thought.
So it is. It's really very simple to use. There's not a lot of figuring and calculation that the kids need to have. Once the printer's been set up, they put the file on here, they plug it in here, they go print, and then away they go. And we'll just start it back up again, and it'll keep going.
And are these like the different spools?
Yeah, so this is the material. It's called Filament.
Okay.
So it comes in lots of different colors. So if students want to say, if they need to print something in green, we just swap this roll of filament out, we put that roll of filament in. So that was the very first prototype hand that we printed on this 3D printer. So we had to test it out, make sure that it was working
really?
properly.
That's cool.
So that was the test file that we made. Yeah, so this is the filament. Comes in all kinds of different colors. Right now I have glow-in-the-dark green on there, which is kind of exciting. That comes in glow-in-the-dark. Comes in a translucent, which is kind of neat. You can get all different kinds of styles and kinds of filament. And the great thing is this works really well if you print multiple pieces. You can glue things together. Crazy Glue adheres really well to it, so the kids can print things in parts, put their whole shape together. This is our bin of 3D learning. So this is all the stuff that did not work out, because in the makerspace, things don't always work, and sometimes we have to improve upon our designs. We have to create something different because the first thing we put together didn't work, or we just need to fix up what we made the first time. So these are all great examples of things that did not work the first time.
Kind of like the label.
Yes.
The bin of learning the art of 3D printing.
3D printing. So every time we make a mistake, we throw it in this bin, and then
Which is good,
we have an
because that's
example of learning.
problem solving as well, which is very important in education.
Yeah, I got this idea from the fantastic Mrs. Rofi, who is our MTech consultant, who's an expert in 3D printing in Makerspace. And she was helping me do 3D printing, and I was gonna throw all this out. And she's like, wait, don't throw it out. She's like, that's good learning. That shows the kids that mistakes happen, you need to adjust, you need to remake. She is a wise lady. What's next? Okay, this is sort of the teacher station, complete with cup of coffee. So here is really where we have a document camera. We have a computer connected to a display board over here.
Okay.
So here we can basically, if we need to show kids tutorials, if we need to show them videos, if we need to show them examples of things, we use this. Another thing that we'll do here is we will use a screencasting feature, and we'll open this screen. And what this allows us to do now is students can share and show their digital projects to the class on the board. So if we're having a discussion about what did you do, how did you solve this problem, what did you make, they can cast up their solutions, their projects onto the board, and we can go around the room one at a time, and the students can share right from their computers.
Oh, neat. So instead of like everybody gather around this little laptop or my phone,
Right.
they can just pop it up to the screen, and then everybody can watch it.
Yeah, and they can do it right from their seat, so they can be sitting here on a laptop, they can be working, and they can cast it to that screen using this setup. And it just allows us to be able to talk and share and be that learning community as we work in this space. We also have a Raspberry Pi hooked up here that we cast to the board. And so if we need to show code programming and how to work the Raspberry Pi, we have that computer hooked up. So we have 2 different computers. And then in the center, we have a document camera, which is massive, because a massive addition to this space, because what we can do is we can show physical projects. So if I need to show students how to wire this breadboard, what I can do is I can flip on the document camera, it projects up to the screen, I can make it large screen, and now what I can do is I can say, hey kids, this wire goes here, this wire goes here, you need to set it up like this, if I'm doing a tutorial or I'm giving them a tip or I'm showing them something. Alternatively, if kids build something with cardboard, if they 3D print something, we can put the object under the camera and we can say, look, this is what I 3D printed. It looks like this, I did this, and we can do kind of a modeling showing type thing in there. Yeah.
Great.
So.
All right, so thank you very much, Corey, for giving us the tour of the classroom.
You're welcome.
And if you like it, just hit like, subscribe to us, of course. We'll definitely have more classroom tour. We're going to go to a Spanish class pretty soon, and then some sports academy as well. And then take a look at what classroom really look like. So anyways, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys later.
Have an awesome day.
Thanks.